If you've read any of my other books or seen any of my blog posts about it, you know that I like to incorporate the God characters and the Christ characters and the Satan character. My God character is known as the Mage in the books, and my Satan character is known as Lucian, the Dark Lord. And my Christ character is the Mage's son, and he is also known as Melchizedek. And he is just kind of the what I picture Christ being like when he would visit people or interact with people on earth. And he always comes to the characters when they need him most in these books. And he kind of just rewrites their stories in a way and reminds them of the beauty and strength that they have within them, that they were created to be. And that's kind of how Jesus is with us. You know, he reminds us that we aren't this fallen, broken person that Satan convinces us we are all the time. And so the Mage's son is a very special character to me, and I always love his interactions with the characters. And I always feel like God has given me those little messages just to share with people as an encouragement, uh, whatever you're facing in life, that he's with us always, and he's never left us. He's never abandoned us. He's always there to fight for us and be our advocate. And he has already set us free from everything that we need to be set free from, and saved us and loves us and redeemed us and all that. So in this book, there's actually two interactions. I'll share a little bit more about Aiden and the Mage's son later in my video about Aiden. But Amber also has an interaction with the Mage's son. So this is kind of the first book where there's two interactions with the Mage's son. And it's kind of cool because it's different, and it kind of brings it to home that he's in charge of all the realms. Like, he's visible in all the realms. He's present in all the realms. He hasn't left anyone out. He's not just forgetting about a realm because they're fallen and rebellious, or not paying attention to him, or ignoring him, or forgotten about him. And so I really like that happened in this one, and I love the interactions in my other books as well. They're kind of some of my favorite scenes in my books. But in the scene with Amber, towards the end, she kind of gets in a situation where the Phoenix Gem is reunited, and it starts a huge fire, and she can't control it. She can't do anything about it. She's kind of trapped in the fire by herself, and she's just crying out for someone to help her and looking for Aiden or anyone who can save her from the fire. And because she's a phoenix, she doesn't get burned or affected by the fire, thankfully, but it's just the overwhelming presence of the fire all around her. And sometimes we can feel like that too, you know. I've gone through situations in my life, even when I was writing this book. I always seem to go through the things that I'm writing about in these books. But sometimes it just feels like you're just facing fire after fire after fire. And sometimes it feels like a wall of fire completely surrounding you. You can't get out. You can't find anyone to help you. You can't do anything to help yourself or save yourself even. And so just getting to those points of just total exhaustion and weariness and not knowing what else to do with your life. And if you've read any of the book in Beauty Reborn, you kind of see her continuing to go through those things where she is just constantly being faced with fire after fire after fire, and she's so tired and so weary, and she doesn't know how to fight it anymore. And we face situations like that in our lives all the time. I've been through many situations like that where it just feels like it's a constant firewall of trial and disaster and heartache and sorrow and all this stuff. And so Amber is kind of at this point where she can't do anything to save herself. No one is there to rescue her. She's alone. She's completely worn out. Everything is just falling apart around her. And the Mage's son comes to her in the fire, and he kind of talks to her, of course, and just kind of reminds her of who she is and the power that she has within her. And he shows her that she doesn't have to be afraid of using the gift that he's given her. She doesn't have to be worried about facing this fire alone, because he's there with her. And he heals her from something that took her sight and restores her sight, like Jesus did in the Bible many times when he was on earth. And it's just a really beautiful point where she is so like just distraught, you know, and completely at the end of her rope. But he comes to her in the fire, just like he did with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel, you know, and it's just kind of a really neat moment where he meets her there in that place and lets her know he's never left her alone. He's always been there. He's an old friend, whether she knows him or not, or remembers him. And so there's this point where he asks her if she's ready to walk through the fire with him. And she thinks about it for a minute and worries, but because his presence is so calming and peaceful, she is able to just accept that and be like, yes, I am ready to walk through the fire. So that point was also very special for me, just like the one with Aiden. And those moments are usually some of my favorites. They really hone in on our spiritual walk with Christ and our relationship with Him. And I just really love incorporating those moments in these stories, and they're always very pointed for me and a reminder for me and encouraging and challenging for me as well when I write them and reread them over and over. And so it's just a good reminder that he's never left us alone. He's always there in the fire with us, just like he was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he's never going to leave us, and he will walk through the fire with us. We just have to be willing to trust him and believe that he will get us through.